Hello my dear friends, you're on the Military Summary channel, and in this video we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have a lot of very interesting updates, so let's start. And first we're going to talk about the conflict on the territory of Ukraine, where during the previous night both the Russians and the Ukrainians once again used hundreds of drones to attack the territories of each other. First we're going to talk about the Ukrainian attack that took place during the previous night. So the Ukrainians, according to media and according to local sources, attacked the city of Melitopol, and right now in front of your screens you can see the moments when the Ukrainians attacked an object of energy infrastructure, and right after this hit, power outages occurred in the region. Another important area that was attacked by the Ukrainians is the central part of Russia. Overnight we received lots of updates that the Russians were trying to bring down the Ukrainian drones over the city of Belgorod and Belgorod region. The Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation stated that overnight the Russians destroyed 85 drones of the armored forces of Ukraine, but despite the fact that the Russians managed to destroy almost every single drone that was launched by the Ukrainians, it seems that several drones managed to break through Russian air defense and to get the city of Taliati. During the night we received lots of videos of consequences of attacks. We see explosions, we can see fire. Yes, the Ukrainians managed to break through Russian air defense, but it seems that they haven't managed to deal significant damage. It seems that there is a fire and some explosions as a result of drones that fell on the surface on the territory of these plants. No big damage was recorded, as we can see according to this video. Another important thing is that during the previous 12 hours we received lots of updates about attacks that have been taking place since the 1st of April of 2026, and the most important, we start receiving updates about the consequences of these attacks. And I would like to discuss with you an attack that took place in the southern parts of the Lugansk region, and here we can see how Ukrainians, as a result of reconnaissance operation during the 2nd of April of 2026, managed to discover several air defense positions of the armed forces of the Russian Federation, and when they discovered them, the Ukrainians began bombing and attacking these territories, and as a result of attacks, several air defense systems of the armed forces of the Russian Federation were completely destroyed. Now let's discuss the Russian attack that took place also during the previous night. The Minister of Defense of Ukraine this morning stated that overnight the Russians used 286 drones to attack the territory of Ukraine, and most of explosions and attacks took place, according to information we received this morning, in the Kharkiv direction and in the Poltava region. So this video was published this morning, and here we can see how the Russians, as a result of reconnaissance operation, managed to discover an Iris-T air defense system of the armored forces of Ukraine, which was located in the Poltava region, and as you can see, as a result of attack, this air defense system was destroyed. So it seems that first the Russians suppressed air defense forces of the armored forces of Ukraine in this region, and then the Russians began attacking this. During the night we received lots of updates that the Russians were attacking objects of gas infrastructure and energy infrastructure on the territory of Poltava region. As of the morning of the 4th of April, we still haven't received even a single video that can confirm this, but we believe that during the upcoming day we will receive the necessary information. Furthermore, according to media, lots of drones were recorded over the city of Kharkiv. In this video we can see how drones were flying over the city of Kharkiv without any resistance from the Ukrainian side. We can see civilians walking through the streets also without being afraid of these drones. They are flying without any problems, without any resistance from the Ukrainian side, seeking their targets. I would like to remind you that yesterday, between the 2nd and the 3rd of April of 2026, there was the biggest attack ever since the beginning probably of the special military operation over the city of Kharkiv, and the sources reported that the Russians used 91 drones to attack the territory of Kharkiv between the 2nd and the 3rd of April of 2026. It seems that the Russians were trying to suppress and to destroy air defense positions of the armed forces of Ukraine as well. Furthermore, during the night, we received lots of videos from the western parts of Ukraine regarding consequences of attacks that took place also between the 1st and the 2nd of April of 2026. In this satellite comparison video, we can see the changes between the dates before attack and after attack. It seems that according to this video and according to this comparison, the Russians attacked another object of energy infrastructure on the territory of the settlement by the name of Pirechin along the border with Slovakia, and some object of energy infrastructure was destroyed. It seems that the Russians destroyed a substation that supported trains between Slovakia, Hungary, and the territory of Ukraine that Ukrainians were using probably for military purposes. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground. During the night, we received lots of very interesting updates, and first let's talk about the northern Sumy direction, where the Russians are keeping infiltration process, and these are the changes on the ground between the days. According to neutral mappers, during the previous days, the Russians managed to approach the settlement of Bachevsk along MO2 road, and this is the first, let's say, village in the northern Sumy direction, which is located not along the border. So I would like to remind you that during the 2026, the Russians captured the villages of Kharkovka, Komarovka, Belaya Bereza, Babylivka, and many other different towns and villages along the border, but that was the first layer of settlements along the border, and the Russians wasn't moving deeper. And now we start receiving updates that the Russians decided to move deeper, and now they're fighting for the first villages along the second line of towns and settlements along the border, which is a very important flag and signal that the Russians are going to keep advancing further in the direction of the settlement by the name of Glukhov. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Sumy direction, where additional changes on the ground were also recorded. The Russians, according to pro-Ukrainian sources, improved their positions on the territory of Kondratyevka. More precisely, an infiltration zone was added in the central part of the settlement, which first of all signals that the Russians are keeping advancing. As for the eastern Sumy direction, the clashes, very heavy clashes, are taking place around the settlement of Miropolye, and this information during the night was confirmed by neutral mappers. The Russians are keeping advancing in this area, and the Russians are trying to improve and to infiltrate additional units and forces further in the direction of the settlement of Miropolye. The Ukrainians are trying to concentrate additional forces around the settlement of Velika Rybitsa by bringing FPV drone operators, warehouses, ammo depots, service centers. The Russians control the situation, but when they see another temporary deployment point of the armed force Ukraine recently created, the Russians attacked this territory with aviation. During this video, we could see how the Russians attacked barracks and hangars belonged to the armed force of Ukraine. In the southeastern direction, additional changes were recorded around the settlement of Ryasne. Pro-Ukrainian sources reported that the Ukrainians have prepared themselves before the beginning of the battle for this strategical town. It seems that in coming days we will start receiving first updates from the territory of the settlement itself, and it seems very heavy clashes are going to take place in this area in coming days. Now let's move further and let's talk about the Kharkiv direction. Here we have additional changes as well. The Russians are keeping improving their positions along the border in this big forest between the city of Volchansk and the northeastern part of Kharkiv region. So these are the changes on the ground between the dates. As we can see, the Russians improved their positions significantly, and the Russians are keeping improving their positions on the territory of the Seversky Kadonets forest. As for the Kupiansk and Slaviansk directions and Kramatorsk, Konstantinovka directions, during the previous night we haven't received anything special. Probably the most important thing is that the Ukrainians are stopping the Slaviansk thermal power plant. This power plant is shutting down its operations. Furthermore, the Russians continue bombing and attacking the central part of the city of Konstantinovka, trying to force the Ukrainians to fall back from the most southern parts of the city. And I would like to remind you that there are very heavy clashes for the southern parts of the city, and it seems that it will still take a month before the Russians are able to establish complete control over this settlement. As for the Zaporozhye direction, during the previous night, lots of updates were recorded along the line between the villages of Ravnopolye, Uspenovka, and further in the north towards Privolye. I would like to remind you that the Russians began their counteroffensive, their Zaporozhye counteroffensive operation in this area, with the purpose to recapture positions they lost during the Ukrainian February counteroffensive operation, and we see lots of attacks, lots of explosions, lots of strikes that were carried out by the Ukrainians along the line of combat contact, which means that the Russians are trying to attack positions of the armed forces of Ukraine and to restore control over the territory. Lots of videos were published during the previous 12 hours. We believe that in coming days we'll receive additional changes in this region as well. We have covered most of the updates about Ukraine that we received overnight. Now let's discuss another important update. According to information we have, the no funding for Ukraine is included in the US military budget proposal for 2027. At the same time, the plan calls for unprecedented investment in drones along with major spending on development of new nuclear warheads. So Ukraine will receive no money from the United States of America in 2027 if this budget will be approved. But another important thing that the next budget, the budget of 2027, is going to be the biggest budget since the beginning, since the end of the Second World War. Trump is pushing a 1.5 trillion defense budget, a 40% increase, and the largest since World War II. So despite the fact that this is going to be the biggest, the largest budget since the end of the Second World War, we see that this budget has no place for the conflict on the territory of Ukraine, which is a very, very difficult situation for Ukrainian side. Now let's discuss the situation in the Middle East. During the previous night, we received lots of updates, and most of them were about a rescue operation that was taken in the southern and the southwestern parts of Iran. I would like to remind you that yesterday, according to information we have, an F-15 of the United States of America was damaged on the territory of the southwestern parts of Iran. Two pilots managed to survive. They ejected from planes, and right after that situation happens, the coalition began a rescue operation. For example, in this video we can see the US helicopters during a search for downed F-15E crew jet yesterday. So we see that the helicopters were flying on the lowest altitude, and we can see lots of police officers of the Iranian side that were attacking these helicopters with short rifles. Later sources reported that helicopters were damaged. Furthermore, we received lots of reports about the yesterday situation. For example, according to US media, two US helicopters that were involved in search and rescue of downed jets struck by fire. Two US military helicopters that were involved in the F-15 search and rescue efforts were struck by Iranian fire, but the service members are all safe, according to the US officials. Furthermore, during the previous 24 hours, another fighting jet was damaged in the southern parts of Iran, and this time we are talking about the territory around the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz. And this video was published by pro-Iranian sources, where we can see an A-10 jet was damaged by Iranian air defense. And you know that this is a very interesting situation, but because the Iranians didn't show such effectiveness of their air defense at the beginning of the conflict between the coalition and Iran, and today several sources stated that it seems that the Russian Federation or China provided the Iranians additional radar systems, and these radar systems allowed the Iranians to improve their air defense position significantly. For example, during the previous 24 hours, a few more drones were also damaged and even destroyed by the Iranian side, which means that just over the previous 24 hours, at least up to 5 different events with the aircrafts and helicopters of the United States of America happened. An F-15 case, an A-10 Thunderbolt case, 2 Pave Hawk helicopters were hit during the, let's say, rescue mission. Stratotanker issued an emergency squawk 7700, and several drones were also damaged or something like this. So we understand that most likely in coming days we'll receive more and more updates on this matter. Furthermore, according to information we have, during the previous nights, the Iranians continue improving their positions in the area of the Strait of Hormuz, and today several sources stated that Iran has developed a maritime regulation system for the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran has divided all states into hostile, neutral, and friendly. The first group will be prohibited from passing through the strait, and the second will be required to pay increased fees, and the third will be able to use the road without restrictions. Earlier, the Ushakov, the special aide of the president of Russia, Putin, announced that the Strait of Hormuz is open for Russia. During the previous days, we received updates that Chinese vessels were able to cross the Strait of Hormuz, the Indian vessels vessels, the Pakistani vessels, and even a French vessel yesterday managed to cross the Strait of Hormuz without any attacks and without any resistance from the Iranian side. There are just vessels of the United States of America and Israel are not allowed to cross this territory. Furthermore, according to information we have, during the previous nights, another vessel was attacked by the Iranians. In this video, you can see a fishing vessel ablaze in the Persian Gulf just off the Strait of Hormuz. And here we can see a fire anomaly right exactly in this area, which means that this vessel was damaged somewhere here. Maybe this vessel was trying to cross the Strait of Hormuz without permission from the Iranian side. In this video, we can see how Navy forces of the Iranians managed to take a drone of Lucas, US drone Lucas, that was brought down by their air defense somewhere in the Persian Gulf. They took this drone and they managed to probably bring this drone as far as possible from the area of clashes. Furthermore, the Iranians continue attacking infrastructure of the Persian Gulf states. During the night, we received reports about explosions and attacks in the area of the state of Bahrain. Furthermore, overnight we received additional videos and additional updates about attacks that took place in the southern parts of Kuwait City. Here we can see a fire. The fire at Mina Al Ahmadi oil refinery in Kuwait continues for more than 24 hours after it was struck by Iranian drones. So the situation is very complicated. The oil markets and financial markets closed several hours ago. The prices were freezed for the next 2 days. And now parties are able to do anything they want during these weekends, and on Monday we'll see probably another de-escalation of the conflict and another attempt from the President of the United States of America to force the Iranians to accept the capitulation. But as we know, the Iranians are not going to do this. And that's it for the short video. The Military with Summary channel reminds that we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye bye.